even though the title and the explanation from the Attorney General is now much clearer, that doesn't mean that we're out of the woods yet in terms of people describing this thing inaccurately, right? So yeah, what kind of misinformation do you expect to be coming down the pike on this measure?
Well, I recall one time I was sitting in Del Rapids at a restaurant called Papa's on Main Street. Great place. Sadly, there's no more Papa's. It's closed. I miss it dearly. I love that place. Maybe someday it'll come back. But I was sitting at Papa's having lunch, and I saw a guy out the window with a clipboard. And he's just walking by. I'm like, oh, I bet you that's a petition circulator. And so I finished up my lunch, and I walked outside, and sure enough, he was standing on the corner. So I went up to that guy, me being curious about these sorts of things.
Sure.
I went up to him, and I said, hey, what do you have? And I kind of suspected I knew what he was circulating, but I just thought I'd ask him, what do you got there?
Yeah.
And his response was, I'm trying to help the farmers and put hemp on the ballot. Well, and I said, is that all this amendment does? And he says, well, it deals with all of cannabis. It deals with all of cannabis. Well, what it really was the Amendment A petition from a couple of years ago that legalized recreational marijuana.
Oh, my goodness.
And I heard that from all sorts of people. It wasn't just my own experience.
Yeah.
And it's not just on this amendment either.
Yeah.
But I heard it before. Not that long ago, actually, not that long after that experience, I had another person approach me. And he said, hey, I was down at the courthouse in Sioux Falls, and I signed the hemp petition. I'm like, no, you didn't, buddy. That was the recreational marijuana petition. It's like, what? I had no idea. And so that's what they do. I mean, sadly, they're just not honest.
Yeah.
Some of them I'm sure are fine. They're good. They just want to change the law, whatever. It's okay. That's their right to do so.
Right.
But in my experience and in others' experience, what we know is that oftentimes these circulators aren't honest. And, they only have a minute just to capture whoever's walking by them.
Right.
And so they'll say anything just to get their attention, to try to get their signature on their petition. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
And that's a problem for this too, because we cannot sit back and expect their petition circulators to tell the public about how radical this thing is.
Right.
They won't tell people that this is going to legalize abortion all the way through 9 months. They're not going to tell people that this is going to override our existing common sense bipartisan abortion regulations.
Right.
They're just not going to do it.
Right.
And that's a big problem.
Yeah. Well, and I don't even think that we can count on them necessarily to say that, this is an amendment concerning abortion. They may cloak it in some kind of euphemism like the ones we've seen over the years that, this is an initiative to protect reproductive freedom,
Yep.
Or this is an initiative that's going to prevent government from interfering with private health care decisions. There's any number of ways that that you can spin this thing, which is, kind of getting back to the all-important title of this thing. If you're walking into a post office or a grocery store or other place and you see petition circulators, you need to look at the title. Make them show you the title and the explanatory language. Yes. And if at the top you see the title, now I've misplaced it again, a constitutional amendment establishing a right to abortion in the state constitution. If it says that at the top, then understand that this is an effort that's going to, give South Dakota, radical abortion laws that are far worse than what we had before the Dobbs decision came down.